Hey everybody, we're back for another week here with Boros Burn, doing things a little bit differently this week, making some changes to last week's list, hoping for a little bit better result. As a friendly reminder, if you're checking this out on YouTube later, please consider subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to give us a follow over on Twitch, once again, if you're checking this out on YouTube later. So, I had a couple rough weeks with the results with the burn deck overall. So I figured we'd shift some things up a little bit. One, going down to 19 lands. Still running Fire Islet, although I'm not the happiest to be running the 5th Canopy land, as it does mean we take a lot of damage. But, you know, overall, we'll give it a go. Beyond that, we had the 3rd Skull Crack in place of that. And otherwise, we're playing largely the same list. 4 of everything except for 2 Lightning Helix and 3 copies of Skull Crack. Sideboard, we're kind of going with the mixed bag approach of a little bit of everything, seeing what sticks. 2 Wear Tear, 2 Smash, and I really wish that they would choose the same art. Really gets annoying sometimes, but 2 Smash, 2 Wear Tear as our split on the Urza Saga hate, basically. Wear Tear, obviously, with a little bit of out against things like Blood Moon and Leyline of Sanctity, which, you know, obviously sees some play in decks like Dredge and such. 2 copies of Exquisite Firecraft, simply because I really hate losing to Blue-White X Control, and to Is It Murktide whenever possible. I like to hedge in that matchup a little bit. 3 copies of Vortex, down from the 4. We haven't been running into as many Cascade decks. You know, that said, it's still an important card. Anti-life gain measure. 2 copies of Sanctifier, because, you know, anytime I leave home without some number of Sanctifier in deck, I end up running into decks like Rakdos Scam, decks like Murktide, decks like Dredge, and it just helps to have in those matchups. And then finally, 2 copies of Path, because that's kind of about the number that's been settled in terms of what's best in the meta. This isn't a card, and this isn't really a creature meta anymore terribly much, so you don't really need a bunch of ways to kill Tarmogoyfs and Death Shadows and stuff. You really need, you know, like 1 maybe Dance or an Omnath or a Murktide, and everything else, for the most part, your burn spells can handle the way the meta has been currently shifted. But that's kind of the version we're taking a look at. See how it does, and hopefully we will have a little bit of a result than last week. Alright, taking a look at our first hand, even though we're on the draw. This hand is very good because we have 2 1-drops. Searing Blaze could be good or bad, so that's the part of the upside or downside of this hand, is if Searing Blaze isn't relevant in the matchup, like, you know, against Tron and such, these could, you know, kind of backfire on us a little bit. But these 3 cards plus 2 lands, having both of our colors, is quite important. So, you know, if an opponent mulligans aggressively, generally you're thinking some type of combo deck. You know, Rhinos, Living End, Tron. Looks like we're up against Hammer Time to start out the party. Not precisely Burn's best matchup, but there aren't too many of the top decks anymore that are particularly good matchups for Burn anymore. I know there was a debate on, I think they were talking about it on Reddit, about what happens when Burn no longer becomes a top tier strategy. And I basically kind of said, you know, we're already, I think, at the point where Burn, as far as a power level, is no longer top tier. Alright, we're just going to get hammered. Cool. Yay. Nothing like getting turn 2'd. Alright, moving on. We want the Deflecting Palm. Basically, we want, like, all of this. Smashes, Wear Tears. Sanctifier, not so much. Path is good. Deflecting Palm is good. The worst cards in the matchup are Eidolon, Skullcrack, unless they specifically have Shadow Spear, and Boros Charm, just because it doesn't impact the board at all. You could also make an argument for Lava Spike being a card you can cut, but it's more mana efficient than Boros Charm, especially in the face of taxing Ish effects like Esper or Esper Sentinel. Generally, I cut these 8 for 8, but like I said, you can consider Skullcrack. Mainly prevents life gain, and damage prevention clause can be relevant if your opponent's blocking with like a Sanctifier deck or something. But usually these 8 for these 8. Roiling Vortex I tend to like more in non-creature matchups or things that aren't as creature-based, but getting turn 2 just felt... a one-lander on the play I just don't think we can keep, especially with all these, like these spells are great, and if we rip a second land, this hand's excellent, but I just don't think this hand's good enough. I could be talking myself into this, because these are like all of the cards we want to see in this matchup. Well, I talked myself into it. But generally you want to mulligan these one-land hands, but this hand has just enough going for it that, especially if you rip a second land, you know, the payoff for this hand is kind of huge. So, but in an ironic way, I was right. We are up against a combo deck. I really wish the players that do this would just like auto pass of the turn. It's like you don't have any relevant plays on turn 1. Just F6 through the turn. Okay. We suspend that. Could have played Skewer to kill one of their creatures, but it's really just not worth it. Okay. Opponent clearly kept an awkward hand. Now just take the opportunity to Searing Blaze this. Opponent risking taking the damage. I think they were supposed to block there. They stumbled just enough for us to get the win there, and we got a little bit lucky to draw a second land when we did. That said, I still am not a huge fan of Eidolon on the play in a creature-based matchup where they get to dump most of their hand on turn 1 if they have a good draw. So I think we'll just click submit as is. Sounds alright. It's not like super exceptional, and it's a very controlling hand, which isn't necessarily where you want to be in this matchup, but I mean, that said, if they go like Sigarda's Aid, Hammer, we're basically dead, but I don't think I'm not supposed to deploy. Stone Forge, sure. Probably going to have all the equipment in the world. So, pass. Yeah, Sanctifire's annoying. Okay, so their hand is currently Hammer and 2 unknowns. Sure. How is Blacksmith's skill exactly worded? Black. Hopefully it's not permanent. Blacksmith's skill. Target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible. I think we still gotta go for it. We tried. So maybe I was just supposed to blow it up when they were tapped low. Alright, so for some reason they don't block, they're dead, but I don't see that happening. Granted, they did that last game, so anything's possible, I suppose. Oh. Hammer time opponents never change. We had no business winning that game. Like, that's the second time in a row where they just like outthought themselves and died. So, like, literally, you're gaining three life a turn. Why not chump block? Like, the extra point of damage isn't going to matter. You know, you have these Ink Moths to chump block the next couple of turns, even if you're drawing an Ornithopter. You know you have a Colossus Hammer in play. You have potentially an extra draw with the man land, or with the Canopy land if you want it. They played so well, and yet twice just didn't block and died. I don't understand. That said, I made a mistake as well when I did not go after the Shadow Spear when they were tapped out. Because I always think of Blacksmith's skill as target creature and as target permanent. For whatever reason, they templated it that way. Alright, for match number 2, this hand's fine, if a bit painful. 2 Canopy lands and Eidolon. And we don't have any like circumstantial cards like this could be Tron, this could be Living End. I suspect some style of combo deck for opponents going this deep on them all. But like a lot of times you'll hear me talking about playing to your outs, and sometimes you have to play to your opponent making mistakes. That said, I mean, we weren't in terrible shape if they blocked, but they were getting 3 life a turn, forcing us to continue to draw more burn spells. So, like I said, I don't know what they were hoping to accomplish with that not blocking with Memnite. Because there's a lot more combination of cards that kill you from 9 than from 11 with 3 mana in play. Now, I will grant our opponent this. How likely is it for us to have, you know, that many whatever's in play? Oh, okay, so we're placing. This is a Hammer Time week, apparently. I could bluff having Bolt, but it just isn't worth it here. Our opponent goes like Dude Hammer. I mean, whatever. We lose on against a Multifor. Alright, take the opportunity to kill that. Pass the turn. Opponent's not going to walk face first into this, are they? Ah, that's a trap. think we have to use our mana as efficiently as possible here while still holding up Lightning Helix. It's a trap. Are you fracking kidding me? Alright, we're dead. It's hard to beat the double hammer god draw. Just saying. Now, if we had main deck like Deflecting Palm or something, this would be absolutely hilarious, but unfortunately we don't, so. Okay, sideboarding I've already kind of talked about. Out the Eidolons. Out the Boros Charms. Bring in all of this stuff. And pray. This would like to be. Burn versus Hammer Time. Brawl, Murktide. Terrible. Okay, Burn versus Hammer Time. Only a slight dog, according to 40-some matches of data. Don't know how I feel about that, but definitely feels like Hammer is favored. Taking a look at this hand, this hand's fine. Yeah, once again, reactive hand, not always where you want to be in this matchup, but still overall I think it's a fine hand. So. Turn 1, Scartazade, go. Fast turn. Probably mapping out how they're going to play. Sure, there's a Saga. Into Stoneforge Mystic. Colossus Hammer. Helix your face. You got mud on your face, your big disgrace. Let's go ahead and kill our creatures while they're tapped. We legitimately don't care if they equip Hammer on something. In fact, we actually kind of want them to equip Hammer on something and kill themselves, so. Ink Moth Nexus. Sure. It makes a construct token. I guess it's not technically a construct token anymore. Opponent gets Hammer, which is fine. Yep, that's a thing. Sure, I leave up path in case anything goes screwy. Oh, so they have blue mana. Cool. I swear if I get hit by Blacksmith Steel on top of everything. Must be nice to have the God draw. Must be nice. Alright, we're back for match number 3. Hopefully we will not see hammer time this round. This hand is debatable. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's an excellent opening, but Eidolon is fine, depending on what we're up against. Okay, turn 1. Alright, so lean on Sacred Foundry. Do they have a Fatal Push? Gonna lean on Swiftspear. It's less damage, but I suspect whatever we play here is dying, so maybe not. Maybe we're gonna get got by creative play by our opponent. Feels like... oh. Fantastic. So what are the odds that they have yet another rebirth effect? Play Eidolon. Force them to deal with Eidolon. We'll trade. They're low enough on resources, I think, if we're able to deal with this stupid Solitude, then we should be in reasonable shape. This looks like they're trying to play a version of Scam, only it's Orzhov. That's what I figured. This is why I didn't go for Lightning Helix, is I figured they had another Rebirth-esque effect. So I just wanted it gone. the fact that they've gained so much life is kind of annoying. Mm-hmm. So now the awkward part is the best play for us, mana efficiency wise, is go with this. They have ephemerate on top of everything. It's just kind of frustrating. Feels like they do. Should have attacked there. Okay, opponent shocks in. Finally got the darn thing off the board. Stoneforge Mystic, of course. Caldera complete. And they have yet another rebirth effect or an ephemerate, then we die. Opponent's got Chalices, Sanctifier and Vex, Phyrexian Crusaders, in addition to Solitude, Undying, plus Stoneforge Mystic bullshit. Yeah, like how do you even sideboard against a pile like this? Got Unburst and Dying Evils. Yeah. Probably one pass. Sanctifier is like okay against some of their stuff, not great. Wear Terror and Deflecting Palm. Like, we could legitimately bring in all of these cards, and only in some cases are they good. Like, Sanctifier helps keep the grief nonsense from coming back, but it doesn't stop the Solitude end of things. Eidolon feels like it's out of place in this matchup yet again. Opponent has disconnected. It's gonna feel like we go down on Boros Charms. Skullcracks have their place, although I might trim one and trim a Skewer the Critics. Alright, opponent is disconnected. We'll see if they... So I'd like to play first. This hand is not great, but we're keeping it because, well... Never great to mulligan terribly much against the Ephemerate Grief deck. So... And this isn't a hand where we have 4 castable 1-mana spells, so even if we don't draw a land for a turn or two, this hand's functional. But if our opponent doesn't reconnect here in a sec, I'm going to pause the recording and for YouTube purposes whenever they restart it when they get back. But like I said, I definitely misplayed. I did mean to attack with Goblin Guide and then skewer their thing, but they did have the Ephemerate in hand like we were afraid of. So it's really kind of hard to play around these situations where your opponent has double Rebirth, Ephemerate. You know, in some ways it's kind of like getting hit by Spell Pierce Blacksmith skill. It's just like you can play around some things, but having your opponent having effectively 3 and 4 pieces of interaction, just or counter interaction, just it becomes impossible. And all 3 of these decks really, they can play a mid-range game or kind of this value game plan. But all 3 decks we played against, both Hammer Time decks and this one, you know, can really leverage quick early starts and just overwhelm what you're doing. And this is an opponent who's clearly having issues with internet connection, so I'm a little less frustrated with them, you know, not F6ing through the turn. And they could realistically have a Solitude if they really wanted to. Now, is that worth trading the resources to kill my turn 1 creature when you could just do it like the next turn with like a Rebirth or an Ephemerate effect? I don't know, but I just think they're having internet issues. The nice part against their deck is they don't have a lot of actual lands to hit, so because they play so many modal face cards, so Goblin Guide's liability is a little less of a liability. Alright, I mean, we're not going to draw a land, that's a reasonable one to hit. And they're Esper on top of everything? Alright, color me intrigued. Does make playing around their stuff a little bit more annoying, but... Okay. Alright, so their opponent exiled, touched the Spirit Realm, and Stoneforge Mystics. The only card we know for sure that they have is Rafine. Really hate spewing resources like this. Oh, okay, that works too. And that is the third time my neighbor has run the sweeper today. Or upstairs neighbor. Opponent is drawing and discarding a card. Iron Sash, sure. So... Good game, well played. This hand's fine, not super exciting, but fine. Cool, so we're about to get double griefed. Yep. It's really hard to win a game where you get triple thought seized. Just saying. Really hard to win a game where you get triple thought seized. Alright, that's a reasonable card to have in case they go for Ephemerate again. Maybe I should have reevaluated Wear Tear after seeing Raffine, because that means they're less likely to have Chalice, but they still have a lot of equipment in their deck. See if we can get them to blink on a Ephemerate. Really don't like main phasing this, but I was looking for a fetch land there, so. Wow, opponent going deep in the tank. All right. Maybe we'll get lucky and our opponent will play like a naked Batterskull. Just let this happen. We'll attack face first into... Sure. Obviously this doesn't play around Solitude plus stuff, but it's our best shot to win the game, so we're going to go for it. Sure. If they have Spell Pierce, we lose. Or Flusterstorm, or any other number of counter spells. And you die. Been an insane league so far. Here for match number 4. This hand's hecka awkward with the land situation and double Searing Blaze, but I do think we'll keep. Opponent leads on 5 color, good stuff. So I'm guessing these Searing Blazes are going to be trash. Arid Mesa, that tells me nothing. We could be up against Creativity, we could be up against Rhinos, we could be up against some type of zoo deck. If I had to put money, I would say Creativity, just the way this day is gone, but don't think we're going to get an answer either, are we? Does not look like it. Let's chip in for some damage here. Okay, alright, so we're up against Creativity. Good to know. Which means I want to be bolting here. Most likely. This is basically a pure damage race. Opponent might have been holding off on a dead gone, but they're going to get to kill something either which way, so. Alright. So they wanted to draw the Persist. That's kind of scary. We would probably like to draw land. Alright, so we're just going to get in for 3 and hold up Searing Blaze on the off chance they try to go for Creativity on a Dwarf token. Seems the most likely way we lose this game. I think we Boros Charm on end step here, force them to Spell Pierce or something, force them to interact one way or another. Like if they have Spell Pierce in the ley line and binding, we're just in trouble anyway. Or if they just have like double Spell Pierce, which they're gonna have. Cool. Okay, so they're fetching that away. Make a Dwarf. Okay, just let this happen. Just let the block happen, it legitimately doesn't matter. So we're just going to die to Archon plus Persist. Yep, and then we're just basically dead next turn. Even if they don't have a spell pierce here. Skewer the critics to put them to 2, they'll go back to 5. And then because they get to, that is if they don't have a fetch land and a double Archon. It's because I know they have the creativity and they have a target for it that we can't interact with regardless. So creativity for 1, they go to 5. And if they have spell pierce up, there's nothing we can draw. Alright. Well, Sanctifier against the Persist plan, which it's not the best, but it works. Rolling Vortex for life gain. Could bring in Smash and Wear Tear for their nonsense. Creativity. Definitely want to bring in the paths. I'm not a huge fan, but with a lot of these lists packing a 1 of Iona in the sideboard, yeah, I really don't want to risk losing to that. Well, at least the winning list is packing a, whatchamacallit. Sanctifier for the Persist plan. Vortex is for life gain. Reflecting Palm's a little bit awkward. Searing Blaze is not the best. This is not really the Lightning Helix-ish matchup. And yes, keeping them from getting the dude is relevant, but also so we'll shave a couple of those because of Rolling Vortex. I guess I'd like to play first. Same is much more offensive. Okay, your opponent shows us a lightning bolt, which is fine. One of our better starts. Hopefully it'll get there. We're dealing them at least 3 this turn. I'm going to say probably 4. Okay, so they're just going to bolt the Swiss Spear. Alright, so they're drawing another lightning bolt. Good for them. Not so good for us. Should always main phase your bolts, friend. Nature's Claim, huh? We're going to 9 here. Okay, just go tap land here since we're not really relying on Serum Blaze as much. So if some way somehow they have no interaction, this is lethal, but I don't count on that happening. Flusterstorm. So if they have a fetch land, they go to 1, then go to 4. Oh, you have to do that. Cool. If they hit Iona, they're just dead. If Iona's even in their deck. Or Emrakul. And then like need to draw a burn spell or a path or something this turn. That doesn't do it. So I can put them to 2. They go back to 5. And we somehow have to hope they don't have anything. still get out of this if we find path. This is the spell pierce. This just isn't good enough. See if they block. Oh, they just have another spell pierce casually on top. Cool. Like we have a deflecting palm or something. Maybe our opponent will get sloppy and discard some card, discard both spell pierces. No, just do Prismari commands. See if they skip combat. Okay, they don't, so concede. Alright, 2 and 2. Alright, final match for tonight's thing. We're on the play finally. Okay, this hand is questionable. 4 lands, not the best. But I do think we'll keep the opener with whatchamacallit kicker. This is the 3rd hammer time? Yep. Alright, opponent's going to get to draw a card. That's whatever. Gotta get our damage in with the Goblin Guide while we can. Oh, this is actually humans. This isn't even hammer time. For some reason blue-white humans has popped up a couple times now. Even have the Painless Mana base. Sure. Okay, they'll play on Sealed Mariner and responsible for the Lightning Helix. Opponent goes to 2. Alright, if they're playing something like Spell Pierce or something too, we're in some trouble, but I can only do what I can do, right? You're freaking kidding me. Okay, playing against blue-white humans, which I don't know why. This is the second time we've played against a similar list in as many weeks. So, unsettled mariner. Okay, so yep, Orzhov champions, Sanctifier and Vex. Seems legit. Flecking Palms can come in. Chalices don't seem particularly common. Those can come in. Those can come in. Eidolons, especially on the draw, can go out. Skull Cracks can stay in because, well, they kind of play around things. This hand is not good at all. Has no creature interaction outside of Bolt. And we take a lot of damage from our lands, so this hand's a risky keep, but one I'll try. Opponents look like they're mulliganing aggressively towards one of their protection from red creatures. Ether Vial, sure. Another Ether Vial, it's like one of the worst draws. So they have a Sanctifier on Orzhov champion here. Oh yeah. Into what? Esper Sentinel. Don't like giving them a card here, but I also can't really afford to sit back and so their hand is Ether Vial, Esper Sentinel, one unknown. They have a 2-drop here. They get us a little bit. I'm willing to attack in here. Extraction Specialist. That's going to be bad. Mm-hmm. Okay, now we get to play this weird I'm not doing anything, you're not doing anything game. It's bad. Now our opponent gets to draw like a billion cards. Mm-hmm. Okay. Smashes go down. Two Boros charms, question mark. Maybe to skewer the critics. It's such an awkward card. Because Smash has this hand's fine. Well, it did keep 7, which is mildly terrifying. With a phantasmal image. Opponent chooses not to block. Cute. And I finally got a land. Just terrifying if this is Extraction Specialist. Mm-hmm. Champion Athalia. Guess we go back to Well, overall, um, not the best league, but then again, that's kind of becoming the result of late. Uh, I honestly don't know what else we can do with the deck. Obviously we were on that insane run for a little while, and we had some middling results, and now we're kind of back to like every burn league's a struggle. Humans, maybe we've had some weird luck just running into humans a couple times over the last couple leagues. Obviously, when you don't play as much, you don't get like a good feel for what people are running in the leagues and such. All you see is like the top results, and those don't always tell you a whole lot about what's going on in the meta. Creativity is just a rough matchup overall. You saw literally Burn have one of its absolute best draws. Maybe I got too cute with the Boros charm saving the Goblin Guide, but that Goblin Guide I still think ended up dealing more damage than the Boros charm, so I think that trade was fine. But you look at these humans matchups, the way they have to be built to beat other aggressive decks. One alternative is maybe I wasn't supposed to use my burn spells on my opponent's creatures, and I was just supposed to try to get them dead. Them hitting their third land for Extraction Specialist, that's just not something we can beat in a deck that's already packed in Thalia, Meddling Mage, Unsettled Mariner, Esper Sentinel. These decks are just getting harder and harder for interaction to keep up with, because they have to with Solitude Fury, Omnath Piles, all the just efficient removal they have to. And Burn, as we've said, just has not gained any pieces lately. And I don't think in good conscience I could recommend taking a Burn deck into a big event and expecting to have a good result. We could have easily 3-2'd maybe with some different plays, a little bit of luck, but even that first Hammer Time win kind of required our opponent to brain fart a couple times. But Burn's at the point where, while it puts up numbers, I don't know that it's a top tier deck anymore. It's a good intro to Modern deck. It's a good deck for people to pick up the format on, but I don't think it's a deck that you can consistently play and expect to do well with in big events. There are too many matchups now that are just actively bad. Hammer Time is tricky. Murktide is tricky. 4-color Omnath is like your one good matchup among all the top contenders. Creativity isn't a bad matchup. Living End's now a bad matchup. Amulet's a nightmare. And Scam feels like it's a rough matchup. It's just... Sure, you can pick up some wins, but yeah. As far as the land situation, 19 versus 20, Fiery Islet versus Crucible, is what it is. I just don't really know what else to say. It really didn't feel a huge difference from 19 and 20 lands. We had a couple one-landers that we kept both times, and they were reasonable. We didn't flood out quite as much this game, but we were getting taxed to heck by different effects in the humans matchup, so we actually actively wanted to draw more lands. But, yeah. Last couple of weeks have been rough, so it's really kind of hard to get behind the deck when you're playing tight and playing well, and actually... you're drawing reasonably well, and your deck is still, losing to these combinations of cards. It's really hard to... You can't really blame it on the mulligans. You can't really blame it on, bad play per se. Now, granted, there was a few mistakes I made that I've commented on. but I don't know if they ultimately affected the outcomes of those two particular mistake games. But yeah, I'll continue iterating on it, but it doesn't particularly feel like where the meta has shifted after Dominator United has been particularly good for Burn. So, what can you do? As always, this has been John for MTG Nexus. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you for the next stream next Sunday night. See ya.